When I wrote The Cup and the Glory, 10 to 12 years ago before it was published, I wrote it as an individual book, really didn't know it was going to be a book. It was not until I got to about the 8th chapter where I thought, well, I guess this is a book. And so I finished it, used it in the classroom, gave it to people. And so then ended up studying more about the glory of God. By the time I finished The Cup and the Glory, I understood that I was not studying suffering, I was studying the glory of God. And so wrote a second book, but didn't know that it was remotely connected. It was I dealt with two questions that kept perplexing me. And one is in Matthew 16, you have Peter being used by Satan to attempt to keep Jesus from ever going to the cross, and yet you have in Luke 22, you have Satan entering Judas to bring about the crucifixion. And you've got 180-degree opposites with this. I mean, in one case, Matthew 16, don't go to the cross. In one case, Luke 22:3, come to the cross. Same Satan using different apostles. And so I studied through that to walk through to see if I could find the answer to that. Another part was why was the darkness over the cross? And so after I had prayed through and researched and wrote this, I wrote it as an entirely different book. This book was different in that I knew it was a book to begin with, but I had no idea that it was connected to the Cup and the Glory. I just thought the Cup and the Glory was a different book. It was not until I taught prayer class here in my first semester at the Master's Seminary, and we used the Cup and the Glory for one of our textbooks, and I did the Chapel Elective series here, that I was able to interact with so many people and just found out, really in getting ready to write the study guide for the Cup and the Glory, that there was a connection. There was a connection between the two books. When I wrote The Cup and the Glory, I talked about my cup, our cup of suffering, our cup as disciples. When I wrote The Darkness and the Glory, I wrote about his cup, because Jesus talks about his cup. Are you able to drink the cup that I drink? Are you able to be baptized with the baptism which I'm baptized with? And so is there any way that we can tell in Scripture what it was that his cup contained? And we'll never be able to fully understand this down here on earth, but there is a sense where we can tell. There are three elements that are different about his cup that is beyond anybody else's in history. And so I actually ended up writing the His Cup chapter as the last chapter. It was a bridge between the two books. And so they're now connected. The Darkness and the Glory picks up where the Cup and the Glory left off.